Good job, how was that?
To inaugurations. If it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham in Washington, D.C. Israel and Hezbollah go tit for tat as Donald Trump attempts to use the specter of war for political gain. All this and more, but first, a look at the latest headlines. Russia launches hundreds of missiles and drones targeting at least 15 Ukrainian regions, including Kyiv. Officials say Russia deliberately struck power plants and water storage facilities. Japan scrambles its fighter jets after detecting Chinese aircraft in its airspace. Tokyo accuses Beijing of violating its sovereignty. Gunmen kill at least 39 people in southwestern Pakistan. Government officials say the attack targeted civilian vehicles traveling on a national highway. Airstrikes on a village kill at least 21, including 11 children in northern Mali. The vicious attack comes as fighting between the army and armed rebel groups escalates. And France arrests Pavel Durov, the founder and CEO of the social media platform Telegram. The Russian billionaire is being probed for allegedly promoting criminal activities on his messaging app. We begin in the Middle East, where Israel and Hezbollah traded attacks amid escalating tensions in the region. The Lebanon-based group launched over 300 rockets into northern Israel on Sunday. Hezbollah's leaders claimed the rockets struck an Israeli army base along with several civilian settlements. He further added that the attacks on Israel were to avenge the killing of Hezbollah commander Fouad Shukr, who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Beirut just last month.
If
the result is satisfactory and achieves the intended goal, then we consider that the operation in retaliation for the killing of Al-Hajj Mohsin and the targeting of the Hiye is done. And if the result is not enough from our point of view, then we retain the right to respond another time.
In retaliation, Israel deployed almost 100 fighter jets and carried out large-scale airstrikes on Hezbollah targets. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the airstrikes destroyed nearly 1,000 rocket launchers. He further added that the recent escalation was not the end of the story.
What happened today is not the end of the story. Hezbollah tried to attack the state of Israel with rockets and drones early in the morning. We instructed the IDF to carry out a powerful preemptive strike to remove the threat. The IDF destroyed thousands of short-range rockets. All of them were intended to harm our citizens and our forces in the Galilee. In addition, the IDF intercepted all the UAVs that Hezbollah launched at a strategic target in the center of the country.
Meanwhile, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan spoke about the escalation in the Middle East, saying that Washington was in touch with both Israel and Hezbollah to prevent a full-blown war.
We have been concerned about the conflict escalating into an all-out regional war since October 7th, and we have worked round the clock with partners and allies, moving military assets, engaging in intensive diplomacy, both publicly and privately behind the scenes to avert that outcome. We continue to work to avert that outcome. And our hope is that the events of last night do not spill out into an escalation that leads to regional war.
And shifting from tensions in Israel's north to the south, Jake Sullivan said that the United States is confident of a ceasefire in Gaza. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council also met over the weekend to push for a ceasefire. However, the meeting did not go as planned. During the roundtable discussions, Israel accused the Palestinian Authority of aiding Hamas and not condemning the October 7 terror attack. Israel's envoy to the United Nations called the Palestinian Authority, quote unquote, terrorists in suits. Israel further added that nations criticizing them for their actions in Gaza are silent when Israel is attacked by Hamas or Hezbollah. As diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the war between Israel and Hamas continue, Hezbollah's rocket attacks on Israel are only complicating the peace deal negotiations. Escalating tensions in the Middle East are now drawing sharp criticisms against the White House. Former President Donald Trump has taken a jab at the Biden administration, claiming that the United States is now on the brink of World War III. In a recent post on X, he questioned President Joe Biden's leadership, asking who is negotiating for the U.S. in the Middle East. Referring to President Biden as Sleepy Joe, Donald Trump then criticized Biden's recent vacation in California as tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate. The ex-president didn't stop there either. He also targeted Vice President Kamala Harris, mocking her as quote-unquote Comrade Kamala, and blaming her for reaffirming unwavering support for Israel at last week's Democratic National Convention. The Republican presidential nominee further asserted that the United States will have no future under Comrade Kamala Harris, accusing her of pushing the country into a nuclear World War III. Vice President Harris, now the Democratic Party's presidential nominee, has gained momentum in recent weeks that has put the Trump campaign on the defensive. In fact, a newly released poll by the Fairleigh Dickinson University has the Democrat leading her challenger by a whopping 7 points. Since her announcement, Donald Trump has struggled to maintain the spotlight. And after the Democratic National Convention wrapped last week, the Harris-Walz campaign's manager revealed that they have now raised a historic $540 million. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's campaign reported $327 million in cash on hand as of early August. With rising tensions in the Middle East, the Biden administration has sent top officials, including U.S. Air Force General C.Q. Brown, to the region to prevent further escalation. And this is after Secretary of State Antony Blinken and CIA Director William Burns spent weeks negotiating a peace agreement. Yet as Donald Trump tries to blunt the Harris momentum, one approach is to try to cast doubt on the administration's ability to manage the crisis effectively. And from one battleground to another, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently shared insights from a conversation he had with former President Donald Trump. President Zelensky said that the Republican presidential candidate signaled his support for Ukraine and expressed a strong desire to end the Russia-Ukraine war.
During this war, we have had one conversation over the phone. I heard messages from him saying that he will support Ukraine, that he wants to stop the war so that Ukraine can be an independent European free country.
Now, Donald Trump's past remarks about NATO have cast doubt over his true intentions. The former president has previously suggested allowing Russia to quote-unquote do whatever the hell they want to NATO members that do not contribute enough to defense spending. Adding to the uncertainty, Donald Trump has selected J.D. Vance as his running mate, who has been a vocal critic of sending more U.S. aid to Ukraine. But despite these concerns, President Zelensky remains hopeful, noting that Donald Trump directly communicated his commitment to support Ukraine and its journey toward European integration.
So that's all messages I've got from him, but directly. But anyway, I can't, prognose. So and I think you also. So we will see in November what will be.
Meanwhile, on the ground, Ukraine continues to make bold moves in its counteroffensives. In fact, Ukrainian forces recently advanced up to 3 kilometers into Russia's Kursk region, seizing control of 2 more settlements. President Zelensky said that Ukraine's operation in Russia helped prevent the occupation of neighboring Ukrainian areas, Sumy and Kharkiv.
Russia prepared an invasion of the Kharkiv region and wanted to occupy millions of people in the city of Kharkiv. Today, 1.5 million people live there. Because Russia attacked this direction and destroyed houses in small towns and villages of Kharkiv region, people came to Kharkiv and there are now 1.5 million people there. Russia wants to occupy this city. It was part of their operation, but we disrupted this offensive.
So while these battles rage on, the Ukrainian president has been working behind the scenes to garner support for a second peace summit. In fact, he's hoping that India might be its next host, considering New Delhi's influence on Moscow. However, President Zelensky was clear that any potential host must first endorse the peace communique established at the initial summit in Switzerland back in June.
There are countries such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, Switzerland as well, even though in a different direction. With these countries, we are discussing the second summit. I absolutely support, and I told this back to Prime Minister Modi, that I support holding the second Global Peace Summit in India.
Of course, the bigger question now is, will Donald Trump follow through on his promise to stand by Ukraine? While that answer may not come until November, an aggressive Ukraine is not leaving their fate in the hands of an election outside of their control. And moving to Italy, where police officials have launched a manslaughter probe into the sinking of a luxury yacht that killed 7 people, including British billionaire Mike Lynch last week. Now, conspiracy theories are emerging suggesting one of Lynch's lawyers, who was also on the same boat, drowned along with the billionaire. Meanwhile, the British tycoon's second lawyer was killed in a hit and run in the United Kingdom just days before the ship sank. Both the lawyers had recently won Lynch a high-profile legal battle in the United States. So is there a connection between these deaths? Here's our report that attempts to separate fact from fiction.
It's been over a week since the super yacht sank off the coast of Italy. 7 people died in that accident. This includes British billionaire Mike Lynch and his daughter, Chairman of Morgan Stanley's International Bank Jonathan Bloomer, his wife Judy Bloomer, Clifford Chance lawyer Chris Morvillo and his wife, and the yacht's chef Riccardo Thomas. The remaining 15 people, including Mike Lynch's wife and the crew of the luxury boat, were rescued by Italian authorities. Until now, the sinking of the yacht was blamed on a weather sprout. But now, Italian authorities have their doubts. They have opened an investigation for possible manslaughter.
Vi comunico ufficialmente.
I officially inform you that the Public Prosecutor's Office of Termini Immores has registered a file with the state against unknown persons, hypothesizing the crimes of culpable shipwreck and multiple culpable homicides.
Ipotizzando I reati di naufragio colposo.
Italian authorities say they don't have evidence to show that the victims tried to escape the boat, raising more suspicions. Prosecutors also said that they found the bodies in different cabins which were not meant to be theirs.
No, they were found in a cabin that was not theirs, the one they were staying in. But again, it recalls a previous answer. This is not meant to indicate a certainty because, I repeat, there could also be this other possibility. So I told him the state of affairs. But on the reasons, there is no certainty.
After Italy began investigating the yacht's sinking, the internet saw a flurry of wild conspiracy theories. And that's because of the devil in the details. Billionaire Mike Lynch was not celebrating some casual weekend off the coast of Italy. He was celebrating his acquittal in the United States for charges of fraud over the sale of autonomy worth over $11 billion to Hewlett-Packard back in 2011. And one of the lawyers defending Lynch was Stephen Chamberlain, who was killed by a car in a hit-and-run case while jogging in the UK. That too, just days before the luxury yacht sank and killed Lynch. Coming back to the sinking, experts such as Stuart Campbell from Boat International say that a luxury yacht of this size should not have sunk while anchored. Social media users have come up with all kinds of wild theories, from linking Lynch's death to his lawyer Chamberlain, to US attorneys conspiring to kill the British tycoon, and even rival corporates removing some competition. Social media has been abuzz with conspiracies. However, the wildest one yet is that American celebrity Oprah Winfrey spoke about a sinking ship at the Democratic National Convention on the 22nd of August. When she quoted civil rights icon John Lewis and said, "No matter what ship our ancestors arrived on, we are all in the same boat now." Other theories claim that Americans want to retain the highest number of billionaires, and Mike Lynch was getting in the way. Some social media users said that the US government can manipulate the weather, so why wouldn't they be able to sink one luxury boat? Other questions remain about Mike Lynch's wife, Angela Baccaris. The luxury yacht was called Bayesian. The Bayesian is owned by a company controlled by Baccaris. And she survived the shipwreck. And not just her, several other passengers who had business ties to her and Lynch also made it out alive. However, Chris Morvillo, who had represented Lynch just recently along with Stephen Chamberlain in a legal battle that they won, did not survive the accident. So Lynch and both his defendants are no more, despite Chamberlain being almost 1,800 miles apart from Lynch and Morvillo. Netizens are saying it's a murder. The manslaughter probe by Italy is adding to the fire. Maybe they too have smelt something fishy. Deaths of billionaires are often fertile ground for speculation, but the string of accidents involving Lynch and his legal defendants raises many questions. Or maybe it's all a giant string of coincidences. Either way, we'll let the Italian authorities take the final call.
And finally, from Chile, the Atacama salt flats are sinking at a rate of 1 to 2 centimeters per year due to human activities like lithium extraction. Often called white gold, lithium is essential for batteries that power electric vehicles, solar panels, and cell phones, making it highly sought after. However, what was intended to be an alternative to carbon-emitting fossil fuels has now become an ecological risk. Our final report gets you all the details about Chile's plummeting Atacama Desert.
In northern Chile, nestled among some of the world's most alluring natural wonders, are the Atacama salt flats. This region isn't just any stretch of desert, it's a vibrant, sprawling tapestry of water geysers, rare birds, towering volcanoes, and of course, a massive sea of salt.
One of the places we analyzed was the Atacama salt flat. After looking at a lot of satellite images, doing a lot of technical processing and solving various problems, we concluded that a sector in the southwest of the Atacama salt flat is sinking at a rate of between 1 and 2 centimeters per year. This sector measures approximately 8 kilometers from north to south and 5 kilometers from east to west.
It's no wonder Hollywood can't get enough of this otherworldly landscape. Yet, for all its natural splendor, the Atacama might soon be relegated to mere memory, a stunning scene preserved only in photographs. A recent study by the University of Chile reveals a troubling reality. The Atacama salt flat is sinking at a rate of 1 to 2 centimeters per year. The culprit? Plain and simple human greed. Lithium brine extraction is to blame, with the relentless extraction of lithium-rich brine outpacing the natural recharge of aquifers. Underground water reservoirs are depleting. This is called subsidence. It's causing the ground to collapse and causing the earth to sink.
It is not happening in the entire salt flat. It is happening in a specific area of the Atacama salt flat, and it coincides with the areas where the companies pump groundwater to extract lithium, or where most of their pumping or their most intense pumping occurs.
How did scientists uncover this unsettling truth? They compared satellite data collected between 2020 and 2023. They documented the slow but steady deformation of the Earth's crust. Unsurprisingly, the southwest part of the salt flat, where lithium mining is most intense, has borne the brunt of this sinking phenomenon.
The area where the surface sinks between 1 or 2 centimeters per year coincides with where the water table, the level where the groundwater table is, has decreased its depth. It happens because they pump a lot of groundwater to extract lithium. So, we think that from 2019 onwards in this sector, which is where we started to see these signs of subsidence, it seems that some part of the salt layers is dissolved. And that could be facilitating the beginning of this sign of subsidence.
When it comes to the global lithium market, Chile and the Atacama salt flats are at the epicenter. Chile is the world's second largest lithium producer behind Australia, and the Atacama salt flat holds one of the largest lithium reserves on the planet. This has put both the country and the salt flat in a precarious position, balancing economic gain with environmental destruction. So why all this fuss over lithium anyway? Often dubbed white gold, lithium is the unsung hero of our digital age. It's essential in the production of electric vehicle batteries, the powerhouses in our laptops, and the lifeblood of our mobile phones. With the world racing towards a green future, lithium has become the backbone of the renewable energy sector, as well as particularly in solar panels, and its importance is only growing. It's a critical component in reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and transitioning to cleaner energy. But this white gold rush has a dark side. Research has shown that lithium mining, particularly the brine evaporation method used in the Atacama, has severe environmental consequences. Extracting just 1 ton of lithium depletes a staggering 2,000 tons of water, a resource that's already in short supply in the desert. And it's not just water. The extraction process involves a cocktail of chemicals like sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide, which can leach into the soil and water, poisoning ecosystems and threatening species that call the salt flat their home. In the grand pursuit of green energy, we must ask ourselves, at what cost? The sinking of the Atacama salt flat serves as a stark reminder that our quest for sustainability must not come at the expense of irreplaceable natural wonders. If we aren't careful, the very resources we're banking on to save the planet might end up destroying it.
That's the show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired!
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.